Welcome friends to another r/malicious compliance video. If you want to be a true pal to me, all you have to do is press that subscribe button. And our first story of the day is by MaxDrive77. The other time I did malicious compliance at Wally World. I shared a story about when a manager forced me to fill the soda machines at work instead of getting carts. It made me think of the other time I used Walmart rules because management tried to screw over the other stockmen and myself for other employees. Our Walmart was open for 24 hours. The stockmen were scheduled different times from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. to gather carts and do other jobs that we're supposed to do. After 11, it fell to third shift to take over those duties. Walmart management always wanted the associates, that's what Walmart wanted its employees to be called, to work open shifts 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. Saying if you have closed shifts, they could get you less shifts because you only want to work certain hours. So my fellow stockmen and I all had these open shifts. One year, around Christmas time, we all noticed we were being scheduled to midnight instead of 11 p.m., which was when our shifts were supposed to end. When we asked management about it, they told us that it's only due to how busy it is for the holiday, and once Christmas was over, we go back to 11 p.m. Well, after Christmas came and went, we were all still being scheduled to midnight. Here one day, I was working and I was asking around why we're still being scheduled to midnight, and someone let it slip to me that third shift didn't want to get carts after we left. So they complained to management that they wanted us to stay to midnight because they didn't want to do it anymore. Now, you might be thinking that we weren't doing our job, leaving at 11 with everything being a disaster. But that's not the case. We always had the place caught up by 11. It's just all of second shift ends at 11 p.m. So all of them then get carts and do shopping after work. And customers are also there, so by 11:30, the carts would be out in the parking lot again. So third shift had to send people out to bring them up. Now when the stockmen closed, there would be one of us getting things caught up, and we were supposed to be on our own. They would have 6 or 7 guys go out and get the carts. With that many people doing it, it was a quick job. Well, I decided if they were going to go behind our backs and make us work different because another group just didn't want to do a part of their job anymore behind our backs, well, I'd do something about it behind theirs. Now here's the fun part. I used Walmart's own policies to get my old shift back. If you did have to change your shifts, Walmart could not ask you why you needed the different shift and could not schedule you to work past the time you said you could work. If they did, you could fight it and they would have to work with you to make it right. So all I did was change my availability from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. to 11 p.m. That 1 hour basically changed me back to my old shift. Since it was only a 1 hour change, I was still open any shift they needed me first, mid, or close. They just couldn't schedule me to midnight. Then all the other stockmen saw that I was only working to 11 p.m. again, and they all asked what I did to do that. I told them that I just changed my availability to 11 p.m. Next thing you know, they all did the same thing. And anytime a new person started with us, we told them to change their availability so they don't try to do that to them. The best part is months later, I'm leaving Walmart, and one of the third shift people asked me why all the stockmen were not staying to midnight anymore, and I just smugly told them that we all changed our availability to 11 p.m. You should have seen the look on his face when I told him. It was indeed glorious. I think the thing I'm most curious about is, wouldn't them staying an hour later still not fix the problem? If most of the issue is actually employees shopping after their work shift is done, whether it's 11 or 12, wouldn't they still be doing that and thereby leaving carts out for them to gather up? Also, very important question, when you're done shopping at a store, do you put the cart back in the corral or do you just kind of set it off to the side somewhere? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by SEM Lixpo. It's ridiculous that you charged us for this appetizer and how to bamboozle a Karen. This one time, an 8-top split the bill 4 ways. Couples. I did the whole inform me of any discrepancies speech and billed them out. 20% all around except one couple. The guy left me less than 10%, but no sweat, I wasn't bothered. 20 minutes after, I see the cheap tipper's wife on her way back into the restaurant, all geared up for a fight. It was getting quiet at that point, just a couple of tables, a great audience for what was about to occur. She storms in, pulls out the bill, and indignantly points out one of the appetizers, says that it was shared, and as such, her husband should not have been charged. She says it's ridiculous that we should have to pay for this. I was chilled. I immediately felt a huge wave of pity for the husband who had clearly been drilled in the parking lot for 15 minutes. I compose myself carefully, go all smiles and ask, "So you want me to reopen the table, refund the card, then charge the card again for a different amount and process the table again and have us eat the cost of the app?" She says yes. I say, "Well, honestly, that's ridiculous. It's a lot of work, but I think I can make this right." And I pulled out my wallet. I tried to hand it to her. "Seems to me like we owe you some money. So how much do you want?" She says, "What are you doing? Can't the restaurant cover it?" I say, "Sure, but I'm not going to ask my boss to cover this one. The food was good, right?" She nods. "And up until I messed up with the bill, service was good?" She nods again. I say, "Okay, so it's my mistake. This is between me and you, so let's make it right. How much do you want? $20? $40? She starts looking really uncomfortable at mugging me all of a sudden. I fan out my float. It's not a lot. I was 23 and looked it too. "Go ahead, what's the app? $13 plus tax and tip? Here, take 20 for now, and you've actually made a few dollars tonight, right? Is that enough? Do you want more? You can have my whole wallet." And I politely try to give her more. Shell-shocked as freak, she slowly takes the 20 out of my hand and walks out of the restaurant, head hanging way down. Sometimes it's very clear what people want, and sometimes giving it to them makes them see what's really happening. A grown woman is leveraging her bad attitude and emotions to win one over on some kid, some business, anything at all. I would have paid $500 easily to never see her again. I got a good deal. I'm still awestruck she had the gall to take it. Third worst customer of my life. Good luck to all my fellow servers in here. It's a wild world. I love that after all that, OP says, "Third worst customer of my life." Now I'm left here frustrated because I want to hear what the second and first ones were. Thanks, OP. This next story is by Petite Chat Noir. Reading is fundamental. I work in customer service. Oftentimes, we get chats and emails and send the help pages the companies put together. In my opinion, these are great because it outlines the steps for certain actions, provides clear and concise frequently asked questions, and provides pictures for additional guidance. Sometimes I get people who hate when we send them the help page, often saying, "I don't have time to read all that, can't you just explain it to me?" Or, "I need to talk to a real person about this, not some robot." I always customize my responses so that they know, hopefully, I'm a real person and not receiving an auto response. One particular person chatted in asking about a complex process, and so I sent the help page and explained how it has pictures for additional guidance. Wow, they hated that. "Why can't you just tell me right here?" I told them the process is kind of lengthy and they can use the help page as a reference as they go through the steps. "I don't have time to read that, just tell me how to do it. Isn't this your job?" There really isn't any other way to relay them the steps other than what is outlined in the help page. There's no shortcut. Not sure what kind of personal flair I can add to the steps. Stop talking about the help page and just tell me what to do. Customer support, but not getting any support. Since the instructions they wanted me to type out so badly were exactly the same as the help page, I proceeded to copy and paste the entire help page paragraph by paragraph. Basically looked like I spammed the chat. "I don't have time to read all of that." It might suck, you might get a bad review, but at that point, I feel like you just have to say, well, if you do have the time to read all that, those are the exact steps you need to take to solve whatever the problem is. Is there anything else I can help you with today? Otherwise, feel free to leave the chat. Again, you'll probably get the 1-star review, get a negative rating, but whoever reviews that has to see that it's just this person being absolutely unreasonable, right? Although in this case it was because somebody didn't want to read, I do think a lot of these help pages set a bad precedent, where a lot of websites will have these help pages, but they're so bare bones or they just don't answer the questions you need. So at some point people get it through their heads that, oh, this is not going to be helpful at all, give me a real person who can just give me the answer. Or they're just lazy and looking for somebody to give them a handout. This next story is by CT021279, The One Time I Defied a Congressman. I did volunteer work at a hospital, and my job was working the desk in a locked unit. My main duties included answering questions for family members and answering the unit phone. One of the things I had to do was maintain privacy and confidentiality. I couldn't even confirm if someone was a patient via the phone, so there was a password system in place. So one day when I was working there, this Republican donor who was ill and was recovering in our unit. There's a list of people who could see him, which was basically only family, a list of which I had a copy of at my desk. Our Republican congressman came to see him and his name was not on the list. I told him that I couldn't confirm or deny a patient of that name was at the hospital. He hemmed and hawed and pulled the "do you know who I am" routine. I told him there was a list of people allowed on the unit and his name wasn't on that list. My supervisor's exact words to me during training were, "I don't care if it's Jesus Christ, if their name is not on the list, don't let them in." So a few minutes later, he comes back with my supervisor and she asks me why I didn't let him in. I repeated her words back to her and she smiled. The congressman then tried to get me in trouble for not immediately honoring his request, but since I was an unpaid volunteer, there was nothing that anyone could do. My supervisor decided to let him into the patient's room, but the decision was over my head, so at least I wasn't the one violating policy. But I certainly didn't vote for the guy, and it was with no small amount of satisfaction I got to defy a congressman's request. I mean, with how strict they are with these kinds of rules and regulations, I think OP did by far and away the right thing. There's a list for a reason. They only want those people to visit for a reason, whether or not they forgot somebody or they didn't list a big group of people outside that immediate scope of family and friends. If they're not on the list, they're not supposed to go in. Our next story is by Donnie Bros. Clean the quick mixer. You got it, boss. Years ago, I worked for a high-end contracting company. It was a small business, about 10 people total, including the 3 owners. 2 were brothers and were in charge of large renovations, and the third was in charge of all the custom cabinetry and high-end furniture we made in the shop. He was my direct boss. I only ever interacted with the brothers occasionally, normally in the mornings and afternoon when they would come to pick up and drop off tools in the cargo van. Part of my shop duties every day included cleaning up their tools and putting them away, and I can't leave until it's done. Now, the brothers had a bad habit of never washing the mixing stick for cement. Every day it would come back caked in dried concrete that I'd have to spend up to an hour breaking off. I'd asked them several times to just wash it down with a hose after they used it, but was always met with, "Oh yeah, we'll remember next time." After a few months of this, I was getting pretty frustrated. One extremely hot summer day, I was sitting on the dock of the shop waiting for them. I was caked in sweat and sawdust from making cabinets all day and was in a bad mood. They pull up and we start unloading. Lo and behold, they hadn't cleaned the stick again. The base of it was practically a complete ball. I say, seriously, what the freak? Brother 1 says, "Oh yeah, sorry." I ask, "How hard is it to wash it off? I've asked for months." Brother 2 says, "It's your job to clean it, just clean it." Cue the compliance. I lifted it up, brought my arm back, and swung it as hard as I could at the side door of the cargo van. The sound of denting metal was huge. Most of the concrete blasted off of it. I handed the stick to the flabbergasted brother and said, "There, I cleaned it," before walking back into the shop. Both brothers wanted to fire me but couldn't. The third guy was my boss and refused. He told me a month later that every time he saw the dent, he laughed. They always brought it back clean afterwards. Was it really forgetfulness, or did they just not care enough? Maybe a little bit of both. They didn't care enough, so they were forgetful. You feel like after a few times of being like, "Oh yeah, I'll remember next time," they would eventually just get it right? Wrong. And our final story of the day is by Anxious Canadian 88. Change your shirt. My mother has always been very pushy and picky about what I wear and how I look. My brother and sister-in-law were coming over for dinner, and I know they don't care what I wear, but she ordered me downstairs to put another shirt on. So I did, except instead of the nice shirt she expected, it was my shirt I got from Beetlejuice, the musical, which she loathes. She was not pleased, but when I pointed out that I technically did what she asked, she dropped it. I get wanting to look nice, but if your brother and your sister are coming over for dinner, why would something as basic as a clean shirt be wrong in any situation? Shoot, if I was going to a sibling's for dinner, meaning they were just wearing clothes and were hopefully clean, what would I care? Then again, I'm one of those people that just like to wear whatever is comfortable and just not give a care if anybody thinks it's lazy. So maybe I'm more on the outside looking in. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.